Hello, and welcome back to Boulder Bookstore. My name is Olivia Edmonds-Diaz. I am the Education Services Manager here at Boulder Bookstore, and I am here with another episode of If You Liked That, Read This. And I'm coming to you today from our ballroom with book recommendations if you enjoyed David Byrne's American Utopia. This is newly available on HBO Max. It's a little under 2 hours, so it's very easy to watch on a weeknight. And it is actually a filmed recording of one of their live stage performances of his Broadway show of the same name, American Utopia. And it's really, really fun, whether or not you love David Byrne and the Talking Heads, which you should. Highly recommend. It's a great viewing experience. So we've got some great books here today if you enjoyed American Utopia. First, have to start off by mentioning David Byrne's new book, American Utopia. This is out on October 27th. It's a companion piece to the stage show slash live filmed recording of this show. And it is sort of this beautiful look at the show, has illustrated lyrics, and it's kind of again, it's a companion piece to his new show. And we will have signed book plates as well, so it's a really great holiday gift coming up. Again, American Utopia by David Byrne. For something a little bit different, throughout the show, he talks about the neurological connections and how as we humans develop, we actually lose a lot of our neurological connections, and he posits that maybe as we lose connections here, we're losing connections interpersonally as well. So to that end, as a way to correct that, I would recommend Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness. This is now out in paperback, and Brene Brown is a trained sociologist and researcher, and she researches things such as bravery and courage. And in Braving the Wilderness, she talks about how she never set out to write a book about the 2016 election, but that's sort of what happened along the way. And so in Braving the Wilderness, we relearn how to reach out to one another, to listen to someone who might be different than us, who has a different opinion than us. So definitely fits along with David Byrne's ideas there. And of course, it's impossible to talk about neurology without talking about Oliver Sax. In his book, Gratitude, this is a beautiful short essay collection in which he talks about his life and the gratitude he has for the life that he lived and the opportunities he had, which again connects back with American Utopia as we reference what does it mean to be a good human, what does it mean to live a meaningful life, and the impact that has on someone else. So Gratitude by Oliver Sax. It is difficult to talk about David Byrne's or the Talking Heads without talking about politics. In American Utopia, he talks about the voter registration drives that David Byrne often coordinates. And as part of the American Utopia stage performances, there were voter registration drives for the audience members as well. So have to recommend One Person, No Vote by Carol Anderson. This is a fantastic look at the historic attempts at voter suppression in the United States. And I think it's really important, especially in 2020, to know what's been done before. It gives you a better tool to examine what's happening now, as voter suppression is very much still something that exists in this country, specifically trying to suppress the Black vote. And so having a Black author talk about what's been going on in the past several decades, it's really meaningful, it's really impactful, and really opens the eyes of everyone, including white people, as to the importance of the vote and the power of the vote. Highly recommend this. And also there is a young reader's version of the book that's great for teens. So if you have a politically motivated, opinionated teenager, this makes a really great gift as a way to further their education. In American Utopia, David Byrne quotes James Baldwin and also talks about the Black Lives Matter movement. They even have a song written by Janelle Monáe about the Black Lives Matter movement. So highly recommend The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin and the follow-up, The Fire This Time, edited by Jessamine Ward. These are both extremely important books by extremely important Black writers. Jessamine Ward is one of the best writers alive today. James Baldwin, fantastic writer, no longer alive. So great places to start if you're not familiar with either author. They look at the Black Lives Matter movement contemporarily, but also what it's like to be a Black person, both a few decades ago and in present day. Everything by James Baldwin is great, everything by Jessamine Ward is great, and I would also highly recommend, we'll have a link to this in the description below, Jessamine Ward wrote a piece for Vanity Fair earlier this year about the Black Lives Matter movement, about COVID and its disproportionate impact on the Black community, and also about the devastating and shocking unexpected loss of her beloved husband. It's an astounding piece on grief and love and hope, and I could not recommend it anymore, so be sure to check that out below. Last but not least, something a little bit different, I recommend What We Owe to Each Other. For those of you familiar with The Good Place, you will recognize this book. This would make a great gift for someone who is a big fan of The Good Place. It is a bit more of an academic text, certainly more sociologically, psychologically minded, philosophically minded. That's the word we're trying to come up with here, everybody. However, it connects right back to American Utopia and all the other books I mentioned earlier today. We're focusing on the impact that one person can have on another person, and it's stressing the importance of those connections, as I mentioned, that David Byrne suggests that we lose over time, that we're losing with one another, the importance of community and love and hope and all of the very good things. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're going to end on an uplifting note from James Baldwin, which David Byrne quotes in American Utopia. But I still believe we can do with this country something that has never been done before. Thank you so much, and happy reading.